Now, due to the design flaws that have made the newly built $100 million Murtala Mohammed International Airport underutilized, the federal government has expressed its plans to demolish 2 private hangars and their offices to pave the way for the expansion of the apron of the terminal. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, also disclosed that this $300 million facilities to be demolished would ensure that the new one can be used to its full capacity and give Nigerians access to more parking space and better facilities to be enjoyed while waiting at the airport to board their flights. Joining us to discuss the effect this would have for travelers and even the persons affected is an aviation consultant, Tayo Ujuri. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Same here.
Yeah.
Right. When I looked through, following the story, I saw that this is not the first time the government is demolishing, some buildings around, this facility, the aviation facility. And I'm wondering, how did we get here in the first place to find ourselves demolishing year in, year out, just to bring about increasing capacity for passengers and all of it?
It's unfortunate, and it's always bad to start on the bad leg, saying that it's unfortunate. An airport, when it's before design itself, or in its planning stage, actually has what you call a map, a road map. It's not like so with that design and that map, you actually know what your airport is going to be like. The airport is designed, say, for 10 million passengers throughput. And after 10 million passengers, you actually envisage what your airport will be like in 20, 25 years, and you make room for expansion. This was all made initially when Murtala Mohammed and all the other airports before were actually established. So with that done, we had to the right of the airport, if you're approaching to the left of the airport, we had the expansion plan. And don't forget that Murtala Mohammed is a replica, or it's supposed to have been a replica of the Amsterdam airport. So what you now need to have done is, with the expansion, we call it the modular expansion of the airport. We were supposed to expand to the left, but that left was actually designated and assigned to an individual, a company, to actually develop a hotel. And what happened was, at the development, and at the time we got the $500 million loan, Chinese loan, to develop the new terminal at Murtala Mohammed, with the counterpart funding for $100 million from Nigerian government, it was all set. But the company that was awarded the other side for hotel was not allowed, for security reasons, to develop that hotel. So what did the government at that time do? They went ahead to develop this new airport, not considering all the challenges that they had that we are now envisaging, or we're now going through. So with that done, we now got this new airport built, and after the building, we now realize that big aircrafts cannot actually taxi and cannot utilize this airport. That's what we're still experiencing till date. The airport has been commissioned about a year and plus, or even going to 2 years. It's not been optimally used. It's new, it's spanking new, it's clean, the air conditioning is better than the old one, and the old one needs to be optimized. The new one needs to be optimized. So what is now being done is the minister is looking to demolish the 2 hangars that is actually obstructing the use of the new terminal, so that we can actually get that done. But is it the right time? Why did we wait for this long?
Yeah.
That's a question to be answered.
So you should answer that. You're the expert here.
Yes, it's interestingly, they've had discussions between FAN owns, manages, and operates the airport. They've been having discussions with the owners of the airport. You have two hangars, actually, 2 hangars. The hangars have been built. It's been utilized in the last 5 to 10 years. So where would government get the funding, which is normally the challenge now, to actually appropriate that fund or build a new hangar for these operators, and where will it be built? I heard they've actually been allocated new land. Where's this land, and has it been actually, have they built it up? Because they're actually operating hangars for private jet operators, and they're actually a major stakeholder within their ecosystem. So what is now being done is this is going to be demolished within a few weeks to the end of this administration, and it's going to be a huge challenge because one, it's going to actually have the old terminal. The new terminal is still not being used, but let's have the hangars being reallocated and rebuilt then, which they had about 7 years to have been done. This is not the new issue, but rushing to do it at the tail end is where the issue is.
But I wonder what the plan now. If these hangars are demolished and it has to be redesigned to pave way to have access to the new terminal and for all the big aircrafts to come in and so on, what becomes of those hangars? Will they be allocated a new place, or how does that work?
Equity, being fair and equitable, that's what should be the case. Okay. They should be allocated a new location, and who's now going to build? FAN, that actually is going to build, which will be extra cost to the government. And like you rightly evaluated, I don't know what the basis of that evaluation is. $300 million is a lot of money in this economy now.
Absolutely.
So if you're actually evaluating that $300 million, is FAN able to cover that $300 million or build the same a facility to the same standard for these operators, as it were? I doubt it to a great extent. So that's where the challenge is. But now the flip side is, which you did mention, is the side of, okay, for the good of the nation. This 600 million out of the 4 airports has been actually built. The new terminal has been built. It's not optimized. So would we be able to optimize the airport if those hangars are brought down? Yes, we will be. Yes, we'll be able to. It will be in the greater interest of the Nigerian public. And that's what we actually have a roadmap, or the government has been calling for a roadmap of aviation being, Nigeria being the hub. We've seen Ethiopia already doing it. We've seen Rwanda running fast to do it. South Africa is already there. Egypt and Morocco are right on the front burner. So if we don't wake up and smell the roses, or actually smell the coffee, as it were, we'll be lagging behind in the fact that we're not able to actually have operations optimization at this airport. And we cannot bring that terminal down.
Right.
I wonder what I'd like you to, maybe as a point of enlightenment, when you travel out and you're coming back to Nigeria, the moment you land at the airport, you see a sharp difference between where you're coming from and where you are right now. If you're talking about either the Kotoka Airport or Tambo Airport in South Africa, or Jomo Kenyatta Airport in Nairobi, or even the Kigali International Airport. What do you think is lacking in our airports, where it looks like it's still a makeshift arrangement, for a temporary arrangement, and then for years we leave it like that, and then we're just managing somehow? What do you think is
It's not just one thing you can put your finger on. There are lots of moving parts. And for an airport operations and management, from safety being your basis, safety is the key. Then you now look at the operations. One, you have lots of stakeholders. You just see the airport, but you have, as you land, you have the immigration, you have the custom, NDLEA, ports, quarantine. You have all the stakeholders. But it's now to ensure that all your stakeholders are actually in cohesion, whereby the air conditioning, the ambience, everything is, and even the customer service, the reception, it's all about welcome to Nigeria, the center of the universe. And just been, it's just been the biggest economy in Black Africa. And we have the culture, we have a sense of place in it. That actually security, and that welcoming feeling. Anywhere you go, it actually attracts visitors. And that's why and to a great extent, why you have the challenge, if you look at the demography of our passengers, we just have 80% are business passengers. 20% are what you call, 80% are what you call visiting family and friends. They're coming for parties and life-changing mother, father, in-laws, 78, 80 birthday parties, or some come check their projects. Nobody's coming for vacation here. So those are the things, once we have that stakeholders, ambience, and just sense of place, it's not just one thing, it all together makes the thing really good. Look at, and again, I don't like that outside comparison. We can make it work here, but always have the roadmap. And what Saudi Arabia is, they have a roadmap 2030. With the roadmap 2030, they're starting with aviation being the catalyst. And they're saying, okay, we're going to build an aviation sector, which is the catalyst of the economy. Now with the aviation sector as well, we're pushing tourism. So we've seen that happen in Dubai. We've seen that happen in Doha. So we are putting tourism, even agriculture, cargo. We're creating Nigeria as a hub. So people are attracted for whatever reason, even going far to coming near to Africa. We've seen Ghana before COVID. They've actually promoted Ghana as a sense of place. There are a lot of Nigerians and black in diaspora that actually want to come home. They have a great attraction to come to Black Africa because of the slave trade history. But how many of those people are coming back to Nigeria? They're going to Ghana, they're going to Benin Republic, they're going to all those other places, they're going to Senegal. But just a minuscule number of people are coming to Nigeria. So it's just that all those things put together makes our airport have that place, a sense of coming back and you're like, wow. And we need to automate the system. It's not that when you get back, so one person is trying to check your box, come here. All those things actually are just, they actually throw passengers away. And that makes Nigeria airports not the first place to actually come to. But is there work being done? It's good enough, like you said, we are the expert. We shouldn't just complain about what's not working.
Right.
What are we doing?
Absolutely.
Or what is being done to make it work? Yes, fine as the Airport Authority and NCA as the Civil Aviation, their process, like we're never lacking in process and procedures and documentation. It's now training staff and updating the staff to ensure that this is the best international practices. This is what should be done. And you've seen that NDLEA and other, even Custom Immigration, if the staff are extorting passengers, it's actually been in the news lately, and they have that, the staff being changed. All that's being worked on. I'm not speaking for them, but we're supposed to be, not, but we're work in progress.
I'm wondering why it's taking us so long to wake up to, all of this roadmap. We have gone to other countries. Yes, we do not want to compare, but we know that our leaders travel. They see these things. Why is it so difficult for us to just bring it back home and do something? Let people see our culture. We can, attract the right investors, make Nigeria that tourist destination. We have all of these things.
Interesting. That yes. And I'm going to be a little bit theoretical here. What we've seen that drives airport is privatization. Some people call it commercialization. Some people call it concessioning. But I'm of the school of thought that the government does not have any business managing or operating. Cede it off to private sector. You have most of these airports, if not all these airports, and it started with Margaret Thatcher in 1998, I believe, or 1980, privatizing all these big airports. You have lots of airport management companies coming to manage airport as an entity, as a commercial viable entity. And you've seen there's some hotels you go in, they're the same age or about half the age of the same airport, and you go into the washrooms, and it's far better than the airport washrooms.
Yeah.
So it's not as if we cannot do it. It's just, I think, a mindset and the need to either privatize or concession this airport. So that's been on the road, that's been initiated, but it has its political undertones.
Right.
And yes, everything has its challenges. We're waking up here and coming, we've had, Lagos has its normal traffic challenges. But what's the issue? If the process has been thorough, it's not rocket science, it's not something that's not been done and cannot be done. It's being transparent in that process and ensuring everybody, all stakeholders are brought along. The unions are now going to court, are now fending against this concessioning or privatization project. And I doubt if that's going to come to see the light of the day before May 29, which is now the big date.
But how do we get these unions to sit there? Because some persons have said, well, the bigger challenge sometimes are the unions who would not agree to issues of concession and so on. But when you travel to other countries, you don't see these unions, destabilizing the aviation sector as much as we do sometimes. Of course, there's the need to bring everybody on board because they all have their roles to play. But how do we get these unions to see where we're going and where we should be so that everyone can work together to have the kind of befitting airport or airports or aviation system that meets the standard of what Nigeria is supposed to be?
I'll just correct what is one statement is that there are unions everywhere, the pilot unions everywhere across the world, because they are promoting their interest in the interest of labor. And it's fair, it's required. Now it's been able to work, and it's part of that union. It's a part of that. If you're in a relationship as a husband and wife with the children, you have to know how to relate with all parties involved. So it's been able to be transparent and ensure that you have everybody inclusive, or what the new word is, inclusiveness in this process. And in this being transparent, you've actually been showing that this is where we are. This is where we're going to be, and actually address their concerns. You rightly said, they have concerns as well. It's been able to say, what are those concerns? And you might not be able to address everything 100%, be able to address the concerns. And most concerns are about job losses. And we've seen, okay, well, some may actually say, what happened to the power sector? But I keep on saying, every sector is different. We've seen telecoms grow and blossom. So with those sectors, we're able to address those concerns, job loss, who's going to pay off, everything. You address all those concerns, and it's all signed off in black and white. With that process and transparency and honesty taken care of, and they actually see what they'll be like in 5 years, what they will be like in 10 years, everybody will be actually more interested in seeing a greater Nigeria and the growth of the aviation sector rather than what we're grappling with at the moment.
Give us a sense of what the aviation roadmap for Nigeria is like, how we intend to expand in the coming years.
And interestingly, and it's actually a big minus for us. We actually go with each administration's roadmap. It shouldn't be. We should have, and aviation is just a segment, a sector of the bigger picture. We're tied into manufacturing, we're tied into agriculture, tourism, like I said, hospitality, everything, services. But we're not connecting the dots yet. We should connect the dots whereby we have the agriculture development and food security, and have a development of, for example, the Iperu airport, airport that's been done. You see, they want to actually have a warehouse and actually have processing for value chain and value enhancement. So that actually piggybacks to the farmer. The farmer produces all these capital crops, and with the crops being produced, it's value added, and then it's transported out. And with all these things, we see all these factors, all these moving parts, but we are not connecting the dots. So we're finding a situation where an administration comes into place and they set up their own roadmap. And they set up 4 or 5 highlights and say, okay, this is the roadmap. But how often, and more often than not, we don't follow through. The next administration comes into place, and they don't follow what the last administration has laid in place, which actually makes the aviation sector not as buoyant and as radiant to what it should be. We're still grappling with about 0.4% of our GDP, which we should be actually at now. Despite COVID numbers and the pullback, we should be about 0.09% of our GDP.
Interesting. All right, let's talk about the national carrier that the minister, the government is trying to ensure they come up with before the end of this administration. Now, they have promised, the Minister of Aviation, Adi Sirika, had said one way or the other that we look forward to having a new carrier. This thing has been promised time and time again. It didn't kick off. But what's the hope now that it might kick off before the end of this administration?
Just before you started, you said some things where you were in tribunal, we're in court. This is in court.
Okay.
So
it's okay.
So that's where your hope is in the legal system.
So chances are that the next administration may not continue with that idea. But let's go now. Let's go now to the incoming administration. How do you hope to see them address the aviation sector, especially so that we can be as buoyant as we hope to be?
Aviation, again, is not a standalone. It's to see, yes, what is the roadmap, what's the plan across across manufacturing, depleted manufacturing sector. Inflation is cost so much, even processing, ease of doing business. So it's about all those sectors and looking at how we'll now tap into it. And it's now, but we should have a plan where we say, what are the low-hanging fruits? We have the population, we have lots of airlines coming to, but is the ease of business good? One thing which is actually, I like timeline and highlighting what the issues are. We're actually dealing with outstanding 400, as at end of last March, $443 million outstanding to foreign airlines operating into Nigeria. And it's known fact that Emirates actually withdrew out of, that's just one of the other factors that made them withdraw, because they're unable to repatriate their money back. Most of the airlines are dealing with that. And the airlines are operating, this cost of tickets out of Nigeria is quadrupled.
Yeah.
It's really high. So pick your ticket up ready for summer in good time. Or actually, we'll be spending summer in Nigeria together. So, which is a good thing to do. So, but what we need to do is to look at all those challenges and address those challenges, and see with those challenges, pay the foreign airlines, and so that they can come more. The tickets are better. People fly out more. People come in more. People fly out. Airline is not just a place. If the tickets are right, it's not as if you're going to space to come to Nigeria. If you do the comparative analysis between Nigeria and Ghana, it's been done in several quarters. You see that we're still high.
Yes.
So those are one of the challenges. So by the time the new administration addresses that, yes, it's a lot of money, but if you can actually give a commitment over a certain time frame, it shows good faith to the airlines. And then with the airlines, we've actually had a safe environment, improve infrastructure. We actually improve with the infrastructure improvement. It makes the cost of operations in Nigeria, insurance, go low. And then the foreign exchange. The foreign exchange now is switching out the switch for coming to the part of domestic airlines. We have a huge domestic population. And I always look at that population and compare it to India. We can actually move that population because the roads are still a challenge. We're going to go into rainy season now, and whereby it's easier. It will be far safer and easier to move across Nigeria by air and faster. So we should be able to have cheaper flights across Nigeria for Easter, for other summer, or wherever you want to go. So if the dollar rate for not just domestic airlines are right, because we are not getting the preferential CBN rates, it's a challenge. And to operate, even to pay for the leases, and then we're not able to send 80% of our operations, training, spare parts, being able to source dollars to do that is a major headache at the moment. So if that can be addressed within the first, we always say the 100 days is a landmark number, it would go a long way. It would go a long way because, like they say, Rome was not built in a day, but it actually shows good faith. It actually shows, okay, we're on the right trajectory, and then the policies again would help us. With the policies, with the exchange rate, with the policies, there's a sense of people would actually want to invest more into Nigeria's aviation sector.
All right, it's 3 years after COVID, and the aviation sector was one of the worst hit industries when it comes to COVID effects. How has the aviation industry picked up after COVID?
Interestingly, we have picked up well.
Okay.
Where we were not even guesstimate, we were forecasted to actually come back to pre-COVID numbers in 2024, second quarter, but we hit that last quarter of last year. Why? We're social animals. We want to go out. We want to mix. And COVID had its mental health issues. So people just wanted to go out there and be themselves. They wanted to mix, and we're used to traveling. Traveling is the best form of education. So we had lots of people traveling. Until now, looking at the reservation platforms of all major airlines, it's actually full. So you've seen, and we're talking about globally here. So we're looking at numbers high. We're looking at people moving around for lots of different things. So we're just going to see upward travel, and we're going to go past the 2019 numbers this year.
All right, we have to leave the conversation here now. Aviation consultant Tayo Ujuri, thank you for your time.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.